You're an anime fan, right? You've probably seen tweets and videos like this before. People talking about S tier this and F tier that, mid or peak, talking about why insert show here is better than you think or why insert show here is disappointing. A lot of people watch anime, and because of that, a lot of people have opinions on anime. Hey, look at this underrated gem. Wish more people would talk about it instead of this overrated show. Hey, is this character S tier? Is this character F tier? Hey, this is a 3-hour-long video essay about the Illuminati symbolism in Yuru Camp and how it relates to Dante's Inferno and the writings of Karl Marx. And hey, you know what? That's a good thing, right? Who doesn't like talking about, well, the things they like? We all like anime, right? Anime is a medium of art, and art should be analyzed and critiqued, right? And you know what they say, everyone's a critic. But that doesn't mean you have to be one. So I want you to picture the last time you watched an anime, and just to make this more applicable to anyone, imagine the last time you experienced any art entertainment medium in general, movies, video games, whatever. What was your thought process going into this experience? Well, first off, you probably picked it because you heard about it from a friend, or you saw someone talking about it online, or maybe you were just browsing Netflix or the Play Store and just saw something with a hot anime girl or boy and, it caught your interest. If it was a show, you probably watched the first few episodes to see if it was something you wanted to commit to, and if you did, you probably found some characters you liked, got invested in the plot, and then texted your friends when you were getting to the hype parts. Assuming you're a normal person, what you probably didn't do is mentally grade the art to determine its placement in an arbitrary tier list. What I've noticed is that for some reason, the mindset of being overly critical of art has become way more prevalent these days. Just look at the language used in some of these tweets. Everything is a superlative, a comparison, a grossly exaggerated opinion stated as if it's objective fact. It seems like these days more and more people are watching and consuming art just for the sake of critiquing it. There are people who will sit down and watch from the start with like a skeptical Sherlock Holmes looking face, just itching to call it mid or to say One Piece clears. And again, I'm focusing on anime specifically because that's what my audience knows, but like I said, this is something that's applicable to all art forms. People just have to get their opinion out on the new Drake album, or people just can't wait to see where the newest Marvel movie ranks on their extensively researched tier list. So everyone does it regardless of the medium, but damn is it prevalent in the anime and manga community. Which makes me ask the question, how do people have fun doing this? Do you guys even like anime, or is it your life goal to watch shows just to say they're worse than your favorite show? And the worst part about it all is how objective and finite people are about these things. Let's look back at some of these tweets. How many S tier characters does this show have? You understand that S tier is not a meaningful objective measurement, right? Like, okay, water at sea level will freeze at 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 degrees Celsius, barring any other outside forces. Any higher than that and it'll melt and turn into a liquid. This is a fact. There is no, well, in my opinion, it's an objective fact. Aliens on another planet trillions of light years away will come to the same conclusion, assuming they have the same conditions as us. They may not call it Celsius and Fahrenheit, and they may have different numbers or whatever, but they will know that when H2O molecules lose a certain amount of energy or whatever, they'll stop moving or freeze or whatever the fuck happens. I ain't no scientist. I barely graduated high school. But even I know that there's a difference between that and saying a cartoon character is S tier or A tier or B tier, whatever. Different people will have different standards as to what each tier means. Everyone has different criteria, so people will have different rankings. Asking how many S tier characters your favorite show has means nothing, because that only matters within the context of that show. And even different fans of the same show will have different amounts of characters in S tier. I mean, fuck it. If it's your favorite show, why not put every character in S tier? Who cares? What does it even mean? And then there's the numerical rankings people love to use. On a scale of 1 to 10, it seems like people only want to use like 7 through 10, with 7 being absolute dog shit, even though 7 is on the upper end of that scale or list. If you have 10 or 11 points on your scale, why not use all of them? Wouldn't 5 be a completely fine average show, and anything above a 5 be a good show worth watching? But then again, that's only if you define it that way, which different people will and different people won't. It's all silly and doesn't create any meaningful conversation beyond, I like this thing because I ranked it high on my personal arbitrary scale. And I understand, I'm not trying to be no killjoy. A lot of it is just people fucking around, having fun discussion, or even just trolling to piss people like me off. And Trust me, it's working. But that's only one part of the larger picture of art criticism. As you can probably tell, most people don't know what the fuck they're talking about when it comes to critiques, so that leads to the question, does art critique hold less weight in our world today? Is there even anything productive that can be said anymore that hasn't been said or that even makes any sense? And in our case specifically, is a misunderstanding of art criticism negatively impacting the anime community? Well, to answer that, let's look at what art criticism has looked like throughout history. I mean, just starting off straight up, the theory of art criticism, or the idea of it, is as old as art itself. I mean, you can imagine it didn't take long for someone to tell a caveman his deer painting was mid. But art criticism in the way we know it originated in the 18th century. The English painter Jonathan Richardson published an essay on the whole art of criticism. In it, he tried to create an objective system for ranking works of art. He had 7 categories like drawing, composition, invention, and coloring, with each one being given a score from 0 to 18. Sounds kind of similar to the rankings and numbers we use today, right? But guess what? Adding numbers to something doesn't make it an objective fact if the value you're attributing to them is based on your own opinion. In the centuries since Jonathan Richardson, people have tried their hand at the storied art of telling people whether a thing is good or not. Many of you probably know the famous film critic Roger Ebert, who was known as like the film critic. He was known for using his star rating for reviews, with 4 stars being the best a movie could get. Again, it's the same idea. There's no quantitative difference between 3 stars and 4 stars, or 2 stars and half a star. It's whatever Ebert himself decides to give. And he said himself that his critical approach to films is relative, not absolute. And thus, the same can be said for our precious Japanese cartoons. So surprise, surprise, art criticism has been a bunch of opinions and people making shit up since the dawn of time. No shit, right? And yet, criticism of art seems so intertwined and even essential to art itself. Listen, the point of this video is not to say there's no value in art criticism and that, in our case, we should stop critiquing our favorite anime and manga. That'd be ridiculous, right? The point I'm trying to make is this. Is there a reason for you to be critiquing art? Do you really need to go into, let's say, the new season of My Hero Academia ready to rank the arcs and tear apart every little writing decision and dissecting every frame of animation for flaws? Probably not. I mean, you could find it fun to do that, and there's nothing wrong with that. You could do whatever the fuck you want if it's fun for you. If you and your friends get a kick out of roasting each other's top 5 manga, then do you, by all means. But let's say maybe you go beyond that. Maybe you feel so strongly that Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is overrated and doesn't deserve its popularity and critical acclaim. Maybe you decide to break out your phone camera and some free editing software to make a video to upload to the internet. Maybe even YouTube. And maybe people even agree with you and hit that subscribe button, and before you know it, you have 1 million subs, and every time you say something is peak or trash, people treat it like gospel. Maybe you go out and say the new anime of the season are mid and you should watch these shows instead. Then all of your little fans all of a sudden have their perceptions shifted. They may not even know it, but once they go watch these shows for themselves, your critiques will be floating around in the back of their heads, and all of a sudden, the whole experience of enjoying art has been changed. And then the worst case scenario happens and people start taking these opinions as objective fact, and they go around asking dumb shit like, guys, I need an S tier show to watch or a solid 8 out of 10 show, as if that's an objectively defined measurement. And then they'll look to content creators and taste makers to validate these opinions as objective fact, regardless of whether or not the creator themselves intended it to be taken that way or not. So I mean, y'all tell me, is this a good thing? Is it okay that our culture has evolved to big internet personalities telling us how to feel about art as if what they say is objective fact? I mean, if you ask me, to be real with y'all, I don't really know. Now, you're probably saying, well, look at you, Damian, you goddamn hypocrite, you stupid motherfucking piece of actual dog shit. You're out here preaching, but look at your channel. You critique art all the time. Your whole channel was built off giving numerical ratings to anime openings, you ugly fucker. And that's true. I am an ugly fucker. But it's also true that I critique a lot of art. I think the important thing to note with me ranking and critiquing anime and manga is I'm just joking most of the time. For real, it's not that deep, and I even say it in every video. It's just my opinion, and it's not like I'm treating my opinion like the word of God. even though it is. However, this does bring me to another point I wanted to bring up, which was the abundance of analytic content on the internet, and especially the insanely saturated world of video essays. A lot of people seem so excited to share their observations about a series, whether it's a new interpretation of an old classic, or maybe stuff you might have missed in the latest episode of whatever. Content like this has become a mainstay in the anime community. And hey, that's good. Art promotes criticism, but it also promotes conversation. And there's nothing better than talking about a series you like and digging deep to find hidden meaning, or just celebrating the things you think are done well, like, animation or character writing. Like, I mean, come on, who hasn't gotten together with friends and talked about Attack on Titan theories or like ReZero symbolism? Analyzing and breaking down anime is great, but the problem here is similar to the problem with art criticism. Nothing is really objective in art. You can give all the evidence in the world to support your character analysis of Kiyotaka, but at the end of the day, someone might interpret it differently, and their opinion is just as valid as yours, no matter how big your subscriber count is. Like, Jesus, dude, people will break down an anime and throw around terms like poor pacing or well done or poorly done character arcs. And then they'll use a bunch of obtuse film school terminology and treat it like it's a quantitative observation, as if they even know what these things mean, or as if they hold any weight for people just trying to have fun watching a show. This is a legit take that some people have, and this is the problem that I wanted to highlight, and basically the whole point of this video. We've reached a point where art criticism and analysis has become misunderstood by the general population. Objectively measuring art has become such a norm that it affects the viewing experience of regular people who don't even care about all the fancy schmancy art degree stuff. Younger kids who are just starting to get into anime are going in thinking that having a set in stone top 5 list and making sure every show is graded by tier is the norm and a requirement to being a real anime fan. And I'll say it again, there's nothing inherently wrong with doing any of this. It's not a shot at anybody, it's not a complete condemnation of the idea of criticism and analysis. It's when people don't understand that at the end of the day it's all opinions that it becomes a problem. It's when people feel the need to be critical for the sake of being critical that it becomes a problem. It's when people watch with the intent to find some obtuse meaning or content to pick apart instead of to find enjoyment that it becomes a problem. And worst of all, it's when people limit the enjoyment of others because they see their own taste as objective fact. That's when it becomes a problem. Because at the end of the day, the purpose of anime and the purpose of art is to evoke emotion and provide entertainment and enjoyment. All the critique and analysis is supplementary and not the main event. Basically what I'm saying here is just enjoy watching anime, just enjoy reading manga, like whatever you want to like, and forget about what clowns on the internet have to say about it. You don't have to think about everything in relative terms like, is this better than that? Everything is opinions, nothing is objective, and you don't have to be an honors English teacher with the analysis every time you watch an episode of Kill la Kill. Let's just all have fun talking about the things we like, yeah? But yeah, that's the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like and subscribe, leave a comment. But let's be real though, guys. Only my opinion is the right one, so listen to me when I say Bocchi the Rock is the anime of the year.